Daisy. I can film video. Watch out. Bro, I'm about to take a nap after this one. I'll tell you what. Hey, hello, how are you? My name's Clay Hurley. If you've never been to this channel before, that's okay, because I haven't been around for a while. I don't think I've posted in a little over a year. I don't know. But if you've been here before and you're coming back, oh my God. I hated that too, don't worry about it. But yeah, welcome to the channel. We do fun art stuff here. Today we are making a really fun prop from the Disney Plus Percy Jackson series. I am personally a huge Percy Jackson fan. I've read all the original 5 books. I'm on the first book of the Heroes of Olympus series. Big fan of Percy Jackson. The show, it could have been better, but it's the first season. I'm gonna give them a pass. But I'm not gonna get into a whole review right now. But I will show you the prop that we're gonna be making today, and it is Percy Jackson's pen, his Riptide pen. Get this fun little gold clip. Very fun, very simple little prop. And what's really fun is that when you pop the cap off, it's pretty cool, huh? That was a stupid joke. I feel like anybody that does a Riptide prop does the pen joke, so I just felt like I had to do it. Today we are making Percy Jackson's Riptide from the Disney Plus series. To be honest, I feel like the one in the show is a little blah. And also the one in the show, it looks like it's like maybe not even 2 feet long. Like the one in the show is like this big. I understand that he was like 13 or 14 at the time of filming, so he was like a small child. If you give like a small kid like a 3-foot sword, it looks weird. But then they give him like a small sword. Is that sword gonna stay the same length when he gets older? Because then that's gonna look goofy. I don't know. So we're kind of combining a little bit from the book and a little bit from the show, and the handle is different from the show, but we'll get more into that later. I think, let's stop yapping. Let's just get into it. I feel like I've yapped plenty. So I downloaded the 3D file from Cults 3D, and this is by a designer named 3D Design for Hire. And it's a pretty good file. It was only $6.90. I don't remember if there was tax, so it was probably like $7 for this file. It's a pretty good file, just has a couple things missing, and I didn't like the length of it. So I downloaded the files, I put them all into Mesh Mixer, I started tinkering around with the files. I think I forgot to show it, but in the book, it says that Riptide is a 3-foot long bronze sword with a leather wrap around the handle. So I wanted to make it 3 feet long. I think the original file was like, I think it was like 2 feet or something like that. And I forgot to show this in the file, so I'm sorry about that, but I kept the handle the same size. I cut the blade into, I think, 4 separate pieces. And then I kept this blade the same length, and then I extended these other 3 pieces. I extended those ones until it was 3 feet long in total. And the reason I split it up into 4 pieces was because with the extended length, it wouldn't be able to print on my Ender 3 printer. I think each length was about the same length as the handle, so then it could fit in my 3D printer. And then another thing that I did was I made a rod in Mesh Mixer that was the same dimensions as like a metal rod that I had in real life. And then I just ran it through the sword in Mesh Mixer and booleaned the difference. If you don't know what boolean means, it means like if I have 2 circles, how do I explain that? Boolean means like if I have like 2 circles or a circle and a square or whatever 3D shapes, and you intersect them, and then you hit a button that says boolean, and the sphere will cut out like a spherical shape in the other object. Does that make sense? So when I took the rod in Mesh Mixer, intersected it with the other pieces, and then hit boolean, it created a hole the size of the rod in the blade pieces. That sounded like it made sense. And then also in the reference pictures, there's like a rectangular bar going down the center of the handle. And I don't know, I liked that. So I started adding it onto the handle just by creating a rectangle and just kind of sticking it on in Mesh Mixer. And then finally in the show, it has little rivets. And also in the book, it says it has gold rivets. But in the file, it did not have any rivets at all. So I just made little rivets, put them on. And then I imported everything into Cura and started printing it. Once everything was done printing, I did a test fit with the metal rod that I had, and everything actually fit together beautifully. Was very stoked on that. And then moving on to the smoothing and sanding process. The smoothing and sanding process was extremely annoying during this project, I'm not gonna lie. So first off, the tip of the sword, as you can see, it came out really rough and it was very brittle. So I used some of this stuff. This is Bondo glazing and spot putty. I think people usually use it for like automotive stuff or whatever. Fills pinholes, scratches, minor dings, and hairline cracks. So I just put a bunch of this on the tip of the sword so I could smooth it out later and hopefully it would add a little bit of strength to it. And oh my God, look out, it's a vicious dog, she's gonna get you. Anyway, so so they were pretty rough layer lines. That was so stupid. So there were pretty rough layer lines over the entire sword. And so I ended up just covering the entire thing in Bondo and sanding it smooth. And then I went ahead and I attached the whole blade together so then I could smooth out the seams where the pieces met. To actually put it together, I used JB Weld plastic bonder, high strength structural adhesive, 15-minute tan. And then I also used Gorilla Brand, incredibly strong, 100% tough, super glue, gel. What I did to combine the pieces was, if I had like, this is like the top of the piece of the sword, I just did like a little bit of super glue on the edges, and then I filled the rest in with JB Weld, because the super glue only sets within like 10 seconds, but the JB Weld sets in 15 minutes. So I would use the super glue just to get a quick bond together so I wasn't sitting there holding it for 15 minutes, and then the JB Weld hardened while the super glue was holding it together. That makes sense? I should get a shirt that says, does that make sense? I think that makes sense. And then also on the seams, I used a little bit of the JB Weld to kind of strengthen those seams together. And then I started sanding the JB Welded joint spots. And then I sanded all of it smooth. I used my orbital sander, which makes it a whole lot easier. If you don't have that, just use sandpaper. It's gonna take a while, it's gonna suck, but it's what you gotta do. Then I went ahead and I put on some Rust-Oleum Automotive Primer, 2-in-1 filler and sandable. Fills imperfections, sand to a smooth finish, stops rust. So yeah, if you're like going on Amazon or whatever, just make sure you search up that entire thing. It'll come right up. But I just sprayed it over the entire thing. This kind of gave me an idea of how smooth it was looking, where there are still some imperfections. And as you can see here, you can clearly see where the seams were bonded together still. And then also on the handle, you could see all of the layer lines still, but that was also just because I haven't really sanded that one yet. So I did more sanding, more smoothing, more sanding, more smoothing. And then my dumb drops the sword and it shatters. So I had to, you know, reassemble everything. A lot of super glue, JB Weld, and Bondo in this project, I'll tell you what. And I went ahead and I did a first spray of, what did I spray it with? I sprayed it with like a Rust-Oleum, it doesn't say gold or whatever, it just says metallic finish. The closest color to bronze that I could find. In the show, the blade is a lot more of like a yellow gold than a bronze, and then the handle is like a dark bronze, but I wanted the whole thing to be kind of more bronze because it's made of celestial bronze, not celestial gold. Duh. Oh, and I didn't mention earlier, but I kept the blade and the handle separate the entire time. But if you're planning on doing this, don't like attach them before you paint or anything. Keep them completely separate until the very end. I did spray the handle a bit of a darker bronze, almost more of a copper than the blade, just to give it something interesting so it's not all the same color. And then I went ahead and sprayed a clear gloss coat on the blade as well. That actually looks really shiny. That's really cool. Looking back on the footage now, I'm realizing how shiny it was. When you spray something metallic, you can really see every little imperfection. I knew I was going to be weathering this, so I wasn't worried about the imperfections. But even still now, you can, if you really look at it, you can see where I fused the pieces together. As you can see here, you can still see a lot of layer lines on the handle, which I wasn't worried about because I knew I was going to be wrapping the handle. And then along the blade, you can still see little imperfections here and there. And even with the gloss coat, it like dripped and stuff, which if I wasn't going to be distressing and aging the blade, that would have really annoyed me and I'd have to sand it and repaint it. But since I was distressing it, I didn't really care. So now we get into the fun distressing phase. I think I just used black acrylic and I used a little bit of green acrylic. I looked it up, and when bronze gets old, it starts to turn green. And on the original prop, I think I see some green in the aging, and so I thought that looked cool, and so I added some green in my aging. So I used just some black and green acrylic, just kind of brushed it on, used a towel, brushed most of it off, did some dabbing, you know, places where I thought dirt would start to collect and stuff, like down at the bottom and the ridges. Just trying to make it look sporadic and natural. Especially on the blade, I kind of clustered a lot of it around where the hilt was gonna be, because I figured that would be kind of a hard place to clean. I also made sure I used like a gold marker and just put a little bit of gold around the rivets. You can't even really tell, but I know. And then for the handle, which is personally my favorite part of the sword, in the show and on the original prop, it has these little, like this little circular pattern, which kind of looks cool. I think it looks cool, but it didn't have it on the file. I couldn't find any file that had it, and I tried to put it on there, and I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So what I ended up doing, I'm really stoked on this actually. I just went on Amazon and I got these. They're just little fake leather textured swatches. I don't know. It's just like fake leather, but it had this one, which is kind of like a golden aged leather with like a floral pattern on it. And I saw it and I was like, that's sick. And so that's what I added onto the handle. But I thought this was like a cool thing. It kind of is a little wavy-ish. So it's kind of oceany, but it also has like some flowers. So it's kind of, you know, I don't know. I thought it fit. I thought it looked cool. I thought it was an interesting look. So how I put the leather on, I measured out the length and the width of the piece that I needed. I wanted to keep the little rectangular divider thing, so I ended up cutting out 2 pieces and then wrapping it around it. And it was very simple. I just tried to keep it as square as possible and just super glued it on. And luckily the thickness of the fake leather was exactly the thickness I needed. It fits on there perfectly, honestly. And with that, finally, I got the sword, dude. The Riptide. It feels great in the hand. It's got a nice weight to it because of the metal rod in the middle. But yeah, dude. Oh, hold on. I got something else for you guys. It should be right here. Yeah, it's some B-roll. Hope you guys like that B-roll. That's about all I got for y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Hope y'all liked the video. That was a lot of y'all's. Take a shot every time I said y'all in the past 5 minutes. But if you liked what I made and you liked the video, then make sure that you liked the video. If you like me, then subscribe, dude. You can see a whole lot more of me. I think that's about all I got. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye.